recording of today of the Steamship Authority's IT Working Group. And if there is anyone else who is making a recording of today's meeting, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon, or if you are joining by phone, pressing *9 on your keypad. And if you are and you are recognized, please state your name for the record.
Unki.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Unki Sanu. I'm a reporter with the MB Times.
All right. Thank you very much, Unki. Anyone else?
No, I don't see anybody.
Right. In accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, all members of the Steamship Authority's IT Working Group are participating remotely in today's meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members hopefully will be clearly audible to each other. Also pursuant to that statute, the Steamship Authority has ensured public access to the deliberations of the working group today for interested members of the public via Zoom. And the link to access this meeting via Zoom has been provided in the meeting notice for today's meeting. I'd like to introduce the members of the IT Working Group. They are across my screen, Mark Rosen, who's the Steamship Authority's treasurer, John Cahill, who is the town of Tisbury's representative on the Steamship Authority's Port Council, Peter Jeffrey, who is the town of Falmouth's representative on the Steamship Authority's board, and James Ashley, who is the, I don't know exactly your correct title, James, I'm embarrassed.
It's Senior Network Engineer.
Senior Network Engineer in the Steamship Authority's IT department. The first thing on the agenda today is a selection of a chair, and this is somewhat necessary for the chair to fulfill his obligations under the open meeting law. And so I would like to open it up to the working group members to nominate someone or have a discussion about having a chair of the working group. John, go right ahead.
I'll take the initiative if you don't mind.
No,
I would like to nominate Peter Jeffries, the Board of Governors representative for Falmouth, as our chair.
I'll second that.
any discussion? Because we're doing this remotely, all votes have to be done by roll call votes. So I will ask in the order of my screen, Mr. Rosen,
Aye.
Mr. Cahill,
Cahill, aye.
Mr. Ashley,
Aye.
and Mr. Jeffrey. You don't have to vote if you don't want to, but you can.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for taking it on.
I'll run campaign.
All right.
I seem to be volunteered often now by the vineyarders.
I feel your pain. Yes.
I'm not going to comment.
The next item on the agenda is the discussion of the request for proposals for information technology management consulting services and a possible vote on issuing such an RFP. Before we start, I would like to caution everyone not to mention anything during this discussion that could be considered confidential or the disclosure of which might jeopardize public safety or cybersecurity. So in discussing the RFP, we should stay away from specific vendor names or equipment names, and we should only use generic terms like cybersecurity and firewalls. There are also other general cybersecurity terms such as multi-factor authentication and zero trust. So with that, as you know, last month, the board authorized this working group in order to develop and issue a request for proposal. And I have sent a draft request to everyone, which you have all had the opportunity to review. Peter and John have given some comments which we have not shared with the other two working group members in order to ensure there is no violation of the open meeting law. But I would like to share those comments that they've given and a revised version today on my computer screen so that we can discuss the RFP. In my opinion, there are two principal purposes today. Number one is to agree upon what the working group wants the RFP to accomplish, what they want this consulting firm to do. And number two, how to describe our IT infrastructure in a way that gives the consulting firm proponents sufficient information to develop good proposals, but not any information that could jeopardize cybersecurity. Does anyone want to say anything before I go to the document, my share screen? All right, let me see if I can accomplish this. And all right. So this is what I have revised it. The working group, a quorum of the working group has not seen this version at all. In fact, none of you have seen this version because I just did it yesterday, and this is the first time it's being shown. In the first paragraph, we are saying very generally that we're requesting proposals from information technology management consulting firms to enter into a proposed contract with the SSA to provide the SSA with a comprehensive assessment of its current IT infrastructure, as well as guidance as to what improvements should be made to that IT infrastructure and how those improvements should be implemented. Is that, I guess, as a general statement, is that what the working group wants this RFP to accomplish? Hearing no comments, I'll just continue on. The process of the RFP is similar to the processes we've used in other requests for proposals at the Steamship Authority. We issue this RFP. Proponents submit proposals, first telling us what they propose to do, and then a separate proposal that does not get opened until after we evaluate those proposals. The proposals that are submitted, the consulting proposals, are evaluated by the four of you, and they can be done in public session. You don't have to write any reasons because all of your comments will be recorded. And you will evaluate those proposals that I have proposed on four basic criteria. Number one, the background of each proponent in terms of their financial history and whether they have any ties to the Steamship Authority that would preclude them from providing services. The second one is their experience in providing these types of IT management consulting services. And the third one is what they are proposing to do for the Steamship Authority in response to the RFP. That is probably the single most important consideration. And the last one is their proposed contract. We've found it easier to have proponents submit proposed contracts that give us a starting point to see how reasonable they are in their contract terms. So that is what your task will be after the proposals are received in April, hopefully. And then after you evaluate those proposals and give each of the proponents a composite evaluation of either highly advantageous, not advantageous, or unacceptable, you will then open up the financial proposals, and you'll factor what each proponent's financial proposal is in deciding who you recommend to be the three finalists for the contract. And you will rank those finalists up to three. You might only have one, as we've had in the past. And you do not have to pick the proponent that submits the lowest financial proposal. That's only a factor to be considered. And what's important to the Steamship Authority in many persons' minds is to get the best services possible. And even if they may be more expensive than another proponent's proposal, it's your decision as to whether it's worth it in order to accept the higher price. That's the process. After you make that determination of those rankings, it'll go to the Steamship Authority's board, but they get the final decision. But we have a pretty good track record of having recommendations taken by the board. So that's the explanation of that. Most of the RFP, unfortunately, is boilerplate, so I don't want to bore you or the public with all of that. You've all had a chance to look at it. And the most important part is what Peter and John already have looked at. We give some background we give the 2018 comprehensive review of the Steamship Authority's operations, the HMS's recommendations, and what we've done to implement them. And this is where Peter and John have made their first comment, and it's one that I'm going to have to reduce this even more, I guess, in order to have the comments come up. Let's see if I can move this.
Steve, I can see the comment. I don't know if anyone
Oh,
I
else
can
can.
see it. Yeah, I can see fine.
Okay.
I can see it as well.
All right, so I'm the only one. All right, that's fine.
Do you want me
So-
to read that for you?
Sure, that would be, and he's correct. I just didn't, I was doing this before I went on vacation, so I didn't get all the.
Sure. Peter's comment just notes that to properly describe the scope of the problem and its public relations effect, things that we should reference Inquirer Mirror stories as well.
Okay, and he's right.
Yeah, and I also did issue news releases on both of those if that's a consideration to issue as well, but it's up to you guys.
Well, I thought the newspaper articles gave the public's viewpoint a little bit better than your news releases.
I'll try not to take that personally.
No, and so it shows part of the problem. So we have identified generally what our infrastructure consists of, and that's not problematic from a cybersecurity point of view. And then this next one is the most important one, and this is where
Steve,
I have, yes, Peter.
may I ask? I would just like it if James' thought or opinion, I know this is, he's seeing this in real time now, but if the systems that we broadly described in C are, I guess, inclusive enough from the IT department standpoint.
I mean, it seems reasonable, yes.
Peter, there's a couple things missing on this. In my opinion. You know, for instance, on the C, we say cloud-based time clock system. We really should say, if we're talking about our back-end systems, our accounting system in there supporting applications. Because the time clock is really just a function, a subset of our accounting system.
Yeah, I'd be open. I just wanted this to, I think, you know, this is the information that will help the vendors who are going to respond to this RFP know what they're dealing with and how to come up with their price estimates. So I would be for just making sure that this is as comprehensive as possible, but while maintaining security.
Yeah, and what I can do is I have some edits and I can send them out to Steve for some recommendations. Like, for instance, we have the learning management system, which is we've implemented after the HMS, and also our communication tools we use to generate whether it's the travel cancellations or the e-news or the triple alerts, you know, how all these integrate in. And is there an easier way to process these or combine these systems?
Okay,
So I know we're not at this point yet, Steve, but I would be open to if we're going to approve the RFP today, that we could add those things without having to come back to the IT working group, since they're just additional descriptive descriptions of our IT systems and isn't substantial. It's more for the information of potential vendors than impacting our selection criteria.
and so as I understand the charge will be for James and Mark to try to flesh out a description that gives a more comprehensive look at the structure, but without compromising security.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
John.
Could you just scroll up here on page 37 really quick so you just scan that? Just there you go. That's perfect.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. John?
That's good. I'm good.
yeah, going through the chair, I support what Mark was saying, and we probably need to, well, two things I want to say. we probably need to say a little bit about the application, financial application. Without being too specific, adding to that bullet list. But the second thing I want to say is, I think I heard the chair say that we want to make these revisions today so we can get this RFP out post haste.
Well, I don't think we have to make the revisions at the meeting. I thought what the chair was saying was that he would like us to do that and send it out, and it doesn't have to come back to the working group.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine with me.
Okay. Because wordsmithing is not the most scintillating subject at a public meeting.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm good.
all right. So this is the crux of the entire RFP, and this is where I have the least understanding of anyone in this room or anyone on this meeting. And I have tried to put forth what the objective is. And this is the first time that James and Mark are seeing this. And it has the comments from Peter and John on it. So this is the first time that a quorum has seen these comments. And I have to leave it to you in order to tell me what can be done. Again, I cannot read Peter's comments on the, maybe I can just put your hide thumbnail video. Yes, if I hide you and I don't see who's talking. So if anyone wants to say anything, just interrupt, because I'm not able to see anyone while having all of this on my screen.
Can I comment on the comments I see here?
Please do.
So is the goal of this all of our IT systems, or really the forward facing where the customers interact systems that generated those complaints we had? And tying into Peter's comments about the Office 365, those are pretty much off the shelf type systems, or do we want to take a deep dive into that? So that's a question I have, which will lead into part 2 of one of my questions. But I just want to know, as far as the group goes, how granular do we want to get on this?
I'll leave that to Peter.
So Mark, in terms of how deep a dive, my understanding of the charge of the board, which I guess I am a member of, was that we really wanted to do a deep dive as to all our systems that support all of our business operations. Obviously, our biggest concern, that brought this about is the reservation system, but because so much of this is integrated into our business operations, my understanding is we're wanting a complete audit and suggestions of what's the best IT infrastructure moving forward to support all of the steamship's business operations.
Okay. Okay, and the reason why I was asking, so since July, our team in accounting has been working with our third-party vendors of taking our, I can say, Microsoft accounting product without naming it, and moving it from on-prem to the cloud and all the supporting applications to the cloud as well. And our goal was to try to produce this all within a calendar year financially, which makes it a clean close, open and close, where all the on-prem moves to cloud on-prem versus on cloud. And as far as the timing goes, which the supporting applications or any changes would just have to be able to talk or have an API with a Microsoft product. So I don't think it would be a big lift. So we can put that on hold, or we can, our plan was to present it to the board originally in our timetable in February. We could put it on hold and have it encompassing in this group where we've done a lot of this due diligence with the third-party vendor, who goes back to the contract we had when we rolled this accounting system out in 2019. And at that time, the cloud version wasn't present, or we can incorporate it into this scope. So I'm just getting a flavor of the working group's feeling on that.
if I can make a suggestion before it, Mark, if you already have plans of doing things with the accounting system, I think the RFP should describe what your plans are in the current state. And that is something that the proponents can take into account when they submit their proposals.
I'm fine with that as long as the other members of the working group is, but I don't want to go forward or undermine what the goal of this project was.
John?
Thanks, Peter. Mark, you and I had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, and I support what Steve just said. And from my understanding of what you're trying to do, it fits within the model of what we're trying to achieve going forward. And most importantly is we still need to make sure that whoever the consulting firm is that we hire is aware of what you're doing because of other things that might tie into that as well. But I don't think you should put this on hold.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Mark, I support that as well. I mean, was your plan to bring it to the board at next week's meeting?
Yes, my goal was, because talking with our vendors where they have people, you know, at a certain point, we're going to lose them for the project and the familiarity is to
Yep.
bring it into February, because for some of it's, you know, hosting on site, cloning the version to the cloud and then putting it up. And then we have a timetable of getting it done. If we award and get to go ahead in February, we should be able to get it done by year end, so that all these migrations and transitions happen within one fiscal year, and we're not carrying anything over system-wide from year to year, which is not ideal.
Yeah, I think as Steve suggested that describing it in this RFP for the potential vendors would be appropriate, but I don't see a reason for you to hold off presenting this to the board to move forward.
Yeah, well, thank you. And to simplify it for everyone, it's really like taking Excel or Office 2018 and moving it to, you know, Office 365.
Right.
So,
You're
Okay,
going in the
thank
right
you.
direction.
okay. And then,
So, oh,
sorry, James, go ahead.
so just a question, I mean, in looking at Peter's note here regarding options for SaaS, you know, should we be including anything with regard to any forward movement we had in, you know, recent history and actually implementing solutions such as that we already have in place and that are, you know, kind of currently being rolled out? I don't know. I don't see any of that here in what I'm looking at. So,
Okay. I think that would be the same principle with Mark's system, that what we've already implemented and things like that, if we've gone in this direction with certain areas, the proponents would be helped by knowing that.
sure. Perfect.
And then the other thing I think we'll should name the categories, you know, I don't know if we want to mention the learning management system, which is tied into our safety management plans as
What
well.
management system, Mark?
It's the learning management system. That was one of the HMS's recommendations we've successfully implemented.
Okay, that's good. That should be added, yes.
And other than that, I think all the high level categories are, we don't mention parking lot system. That is a third party system. We can mention it in that as well. We mentioned it on the prior page, but not in the objective here.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with anything we're listing and C, including the additions. I know that Mark and James were going to add, could be listed under this first bullet at D.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, maybe what the easiest way to do it would be, the last bullet would be, and any additional applications that are important to the organization. So we might be missing one or two that we're not even thinking of today.
Yep. And supporting systems, because we have subsystems and APIs that connect to systems to talk. So all of that.
Okay, so we will add a few more and then put including others with John's comment.
Yeah. And they'll, the right consulting firm will know how to navigate through that bullet list.
Okay. All right, so with respect to Peter's first comment on the right-hand side, is there a need to review standard applications such as email or file sharing? It's worth considering a software as a service solution such as O365, as there's a good deal of relief on internal.
Hey, Steve, there's a hand up in the audience. I don't know if you want to, if we're holding off on that until public comment or how you want to proceed, but I just wanted to I don't think anyone saw that.
That would be up to the chair. I punched.
Mr. Jeffrey, how would you like to handle that, sir?
I think we should reserve, because we're in the nitty gritty of this, the public comment time. There'll be
Okay.
opportunity for public comment, but I don't want us to lose the momentum on our tedious task at hand.
Okay,
Very good. Mr. Litt, we will get to you at public comment, and if you have to sign off before then, you can send us an email. Thank you.
So your first comment, that now that I've expanded it so we can read it all, what James was saying is that we have already done this in some areas, and so we should put a description of that and have them evaluate in what other areas that should be considered, is my sense.
That works.
Okay. Going to his next comment. And this is what we've been talking about. And so that is going to be James and Mark's task in order to more clearly define all the systems. And prioritizing, I think we have talked about those, the reservation system. The ones that are listed in your bullet point already are the prioritized. The other ones apparently have not had any problems that we were aware of. So that's just part of the comprehensive assessment. Are we fine with that comment?
Yes.
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 Sorry. Just says they'll be knowledgeable. Yes, we'll have to edit that because the comment was identifying how the IT infrastructure may be enhanced to improve the SSA's business processes, procedures, and organization. And they won't be familiar with that. So we're going to have to edit that. And maybe that can
But
just,
so Steve, the edit is in what's on the screen in blue, and then my comment explains the edit that John and I submitted it, because originally it read that we were
Right.
asking the consultant to how we could improve our business process.
okay, thank you. All right, now I get it. And then this comment, such assessment should include whether the SSA would benefit from ongoing outside CIO service. We just add that in there. And I'll say this, you added the bullet to conduct a staffing assessment of the IT department to appropriate staffing levels, personnel needs, and costs. And then we'll include that comment too in that RFP. And I assume your concern is that we are understaffed in the IT department. And the question is whether we should be adding more people.
I don't want to presume that, but I think it needs to be looked at, and I don't want it to be excluded by the consultant as what needs to be looked at, as well as what possible solutions they may offer based upon their audit.
Okay,
So Steve, that's where, I'm sorry, John.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
So we're saying that on the staffing assessment, we're also going to incorporate the comments about also looking at third-party vendors or support contract work to supplement or enhance what we currently have.
Right.
correct.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
Yes, I think that would be, John, go ahead.
Going back to that prior bullet, which is the identify how IT infrastructure may be enhanced to support business processes of the SSA. I think we better define that a little bit clearer, because that is really open-ended. If I'm a consulting firm, I might look at that phrase and say, oh, are they talking 40 hours worth of work? Or are they talking 400 hours worth of work? So I don't know what the best wording would be, Steve, but maybe it's identify at a high level, or identify an overview, or we want to limit it at this stage. Now, they could come back at the end of the contract and say, hey, we can help you with these business processes and integration in the technology. But, you know, they could, but from being cold and coming in and reading that document and thinking they're going to come in, that could represent a year's worth of work. So I guess we're trying to, in my mind, we want to be able to put some very, what's the right word? Limitations on how far we want to take this.
Boundaries.
Boundaries. Thank you.
I will say that my comment there in terms of both the edit and the original statement about operational data input throughput and output goes to James Malkin's concern specifically to the reservation system, and how the business process of reservations and loading boats integrates with the website and the reservation system. So, I mean, I think that's where that original thought came from. So I don't know if then, do we want to prioritize in this bullet point, then what business processes are we really concerned about?
Mr. Chair, is it really how these applications integrate and are used efficiently to get the correct information to the appropriate users? I mean, that's ultimately, is that what we're looking for? You know, like Jim's point of garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
that's the point, I think, of that bullet point. It could be wordsmith much better to, I don't know how you wordsmith, how do we improve our IT infrastructure so we don't have garbage in and garbage out?
Yeah,
How about maybe instead of identify, it's recommend business processes that should be, you know, understood, or and how the technology can leverage or improve those business processes.
Or how about recommend systematic and operational changes to improve the IT process, well, you know, something like that.
I guess, Mark, though, my concern is that the consultant that we're looking for will know IT, and maybe know solutions to our business processes, but we're not looking for a consultant who could then recommend what is the best business process for us to run a reservation system. So it's trying to, I guess, walk that tightrope that we want them to understand our business process, and then they could recommend the best software, hardware solution to improve that business process.
No, I agree, Peter, because for instance, using what we did on the accounting system, we had interviews. They sat and watched us work with it and then realized what we can, are we using the system to the fullest and what changes or, implementations that we need or third-party products that might make it easier for automatic report generating, for example.
My suggestion, and we can wordsmith this later, but going with John's concern that it's too broad and it could be a year, and then hearing Peter saying this is really primarily about the reservation process and making certain that we don't go out, our boats don't go out half empty when people are being told there are no reservations available on them. But I think we should put a focus on that problem, how to integrate the reservations with the actual conditions on the vessels and how this technology can be done to improve that, as well as, and you can say as well as other business processes and procedures. But I'd put the focus on that, and if they could solve that, that would be the most immediate application of their work. Because that's been a problem for decades.
Yeah, and I understand John's concern, because you could have someone put in a bid and they're going to look at our telephone system in the administrative office, an in-depth dive, and I don't think that's the purpose of this or the priority of this tech audit. So I think John, would it satisfy you if we put a focus on what business process or processes we want them to primarily look at the infrastructure?
It helps, sure. But having been in the business, I know if I read that line, I'd say, well, how far do they want us to take this? I mean, do I have to go to point of sale? Do I want to look at credit card processing? Do I want to have integration with the phone system to tie it into the customer records so that I've got I call in on my cell phone and they go, "Hi, John, how are you?" I mean, it's a tricky thing. So I don't know. I'm just looking for some words that put some boundaries around how far we want them to take this. Otherwise, it could be $10,000 worth of work, or it could be $150,000 worth of work. And I don't want to get too hung up on it. I mean, it's okay, and we can define that with them, and they come back to have any questions. But having done a lot of business process redesign work with technology, that jumps off the page for me.
Well, if we could leave the language as it is, or pretty much as it is, because under the financial proposal, they are to provide us with their cost estimates and the basis for their cost estimates for their financial proposals.
Yep.
We will be able to look at what they're assuming is the amount of work that's going to be in that type of task. And if we say, whoa, no, we didn't intend that at all, and the RFP process allows us to negotiate with them before any contract award as to what the scope of their services will be, even though it may not be the scope that they originally proposed.
How about we use the word high-level recommendations? Recommend high-level recommendations on how IT infrastructure can be utilized to improve the steamship's business processes.
Well, enhanced, I think it's right, because enhanced to improved.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, fine.
Okay.
In other words, it would be if I made those recommendations to you, like I said, well, we should really look at customer-facing tools, the integration of reservation systems with accounting, and all of these things need to be further examined. Point of sale, on and on. They would give some concrete examples, but it would still be a high-level recommendation.
Okay.
Peter, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Have the rest of the group?
I'm fine.
Yes. Yes,
All right.
I spent a year and a half just on that bullet alone with one company once. That's what I'm getting at.
All right, I'm going to continue on to the next bullet, which I think, there it is. Bidders, and by the way, these are, I call them proponents because it's a RFP and not an invitation for bids. And that's a legalistic term that I have to keep carefully separate, because if they were bidders, we'd have to select the lowest price. But they will need some information about each of the current systems to actually price out their proposals. Before issuing the RFP, SSA should determine what information about those systems could be shared with the prospective vendors that would not compromise public safety or security, and included as an exhibit to the RFP. And that's what we've been talking about already. We can include it either in the body of the RFP or put it as an exhibit. It doesn't matter to me. And I'll work on that with James and Mark. And also we were able to take the benefit of other people's work who are not on the working group, and that would be Kirk Van Riper. And I hope that we will talk with him about getting all of that as specific as we can without jeopardizing security. Are we then finished with the objectives so far on this page?
I believe so.
Okay. So for this one, for the confidentiality, I've changed this. My original version had me say that they would have to sign a confidentiality agreement, and I attached it as an exhibit to the RFP. Afterwards, I looked, Terrence gave me some contracts that we have with other companies, and they have far more extensive confidentiality agreements than I had prepared. And so I'm making this more general, and I'm having them propose it in their proposals as to what agreements, and then we're going to have to negotiate that once we get their proposals. So I want them to comply with all applicable data security and consumer protection requirements and regulations, including but not limited to the Massachusetts Standards for Protection of Personal Information of Residents of the Commonwealth, Mass General Laws, Chapter 93H, Mass General Laws, Chapter 93A, 201 Code of Massachusetts Regulations. And that is all, those are in our other contracts. And then the Commonwealth has standards for third-party information security standards of Enterprise Security Office of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I put that in and let them know that they're going to have to execute binding non-disclosure agreements with the SSA, whether as part of the contract or as separate non-disclosure agreements. I don't think any of them will be surprised by any of that. And they'll probably all have standard confidentiality agreements that they've worked with many other clients.
Agreed.
Okay. And this is where I asked, the AS400 is a generic term, I'm told, so that does not compromise any security. And we can just take out this paragraph.
Which paragraph, Steve?
It's the one that's shaded gray.
Okay.
And I just put that in because there were, Peter and John are concerned they don't want the assessment just to focus on hardware, because everyone's concerned about all the other aspects. And maybe that's the phrase we put into it. The comment gets placed into the objective, and say that the consultant's assessment should not focus solely on the steamship authority's hardware, but also on the software, including of its software, particularly its reservation system, including but not limited to the obsolescence of its coding language, and put that in as a substitute for that paragraph.
Any comments from anyone?
Nope.
Nope, not currently.
All right, so we'll change it there. Actually, this is going pretty well. All right. Then we have, the rest of it is boilerplate. And this last paragraph is not, this is the final paragraph of the objective.
Which
And
one are you referring to, Steve?
pardon,
Which one are you referring to?
ultimately,
Okay,
so. And then the rest now is all boilerplate. And for the, normally for proposals, we, for their financial proposals, we have them give their total contract price, and that's pretty much what we have to accept if they are awarded the contract. Here, particularly because they don't know the extent, the full extent of the of our IT infrastructure, I've changed it. It just said an estimated total contract price, and that is so that it's obviously going to be subject to negotiation. And how we negotiate that is by using the cost estimates, because they put detailed backup sheets. And that's when, after we get the, evaluate the consulting proposals, and then we open up the financial proposals, we will be able to look at their cost estimates with them and to see what they're included. You don't have to do this for each proponent. You can only do this with the proponents that you feel are giving a great proposal in terms of their services, and just checking their financial cost estimates. And then that's where you can do this, like, oh, you have 100 hours in here for this when we really only expect it to be 10 or something along that line. And there can be that discussion. And then by having it be an estimated total contract price instead of the final total contract price, that can be adjusted.
Yeah, we want to make sure, Steve, that we have the ongoing billable rates,
Yes,
going forward, X consultants working, what the billable rate will be, or Y is. So that way we know what we're in for.
well, in theory, the cost estimates will have that. Labor costs, subcontractor costs. But you're right, I should put that specifically in.
Steve, can you scroll up to the page before, at the bottom of the page 9? Just want to read something there. What do you mean by the shall include any and all sales, use, and excise tax?
Because if they are a New York company and they sell us products or anything along that time,
Okay,
got
got
that
it.
would be subject to a sales tax.
Yep,
We
all right.
would be obligated for that.
Okay,
But if they're a Massachusetts company and we don't have to pay it in Massachusetts. So we compare apples to apples instead of apples to oranges.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just a thought. I don't know. I don't want to take up everyone's time this morning, but I don't know if you can put this in a proposal or not. So I'm going to ask Steve and yourself to help me out here. In the end, let's say we find a great consulting firm. In the end, though, it's who they assign. So my thought process would be somehow the Steamship Authority is protected by interviewing the assigned members of the team to feel that we're really getting the right individuals to help us with our problem. So if I'm a marketing director of a major consulting firm, I'm going to say, hey, I've got a team of people here. We know how to do this. And we're awarded the contract, but when it gets down to, oh my God, they want to start in May. I don't have anybody available right now. My good guys are already on another project. You know, and so I'm going to put a junior representative on this and hope it goes through. Somehow I would hope that we would be able to have some ability to say, yeah, he or she's not the guy.
Well, that you could have that part in the evaluation of the consulting proposals, you are allowed to interview them.
Yep.
And you can ask these questions directly.
And Mr. Chair, we've done that other, asked for who specifically is gonna work on this project. So we know, who they are, their experience in the bio.
So do we need to put that wording in the contract or just assume we've got that ability to say that?
Well, I think it's in their proposal form. But we'll get there. Well, let's go there now. We have identified the key individuals who will be involved in the contract, describe what their roles will be, and provide the curriculum vitae or descriptions of their relevant qualifications and experience.
John, does that answer or address your concern?
Maybe identify an interview?
Well, wait, the proponent's response should also be about from which the level of effort the proponent will expend on this contract. So they give us this information.
Yeah.
And they give us also their proposed contract schedule, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then during the consulting, in the course of evaluating the consulting proposals, the working group may, but is not required to request any consulting firm or firms to make presentations regarding the proposals. And so that's where those questions can be posed if they don't adequately answer them in the proposals.
Got it.
And that would be done prior to the financials being opened.
Correct.
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, so we have here, after the cost estimates, we have the proposals being opened Tuesday, April 4th. That is a throwback to me because people get things done on the weekend before and then they have Monday and it gives them an extra day to get it to us. It's now February 15th. I propose we leave that date in now, and if people need more time, they can ask for it and we can consider that. And we had a far quicker turnaround time when we did our management consultants. And we got, I think, 7 proposals for that. So hopefully we'll be able to get proposals for this in that time frame. My sense is that if James and Mark and I and Kurt can make the changes that we talked about today, we should be able to get it out finalized by this week. It's Wednesday, and it will be advertised. Peggy will get the advertisements out. Those advertisements probably won't go out until next week because of the lead time for the publications. But we're going to have to focus, and I'll focus next week on identifying where we can publicize this RFP. Maybe the Martha's Vineyard Times can do a headline article on the front page. There are enough people on the island who read the Martha's Vineyard Times who have IT backgrounds or know people. They might, that might be one of our best avenues. And you would think that the island residents know about our problems better than anyone else. So we're proposing that. This is boilerplate that you've seen. And after this meeting, we can put this maybe on the meeting package. We didn't do it beforehand because we didn't want to violate the open meeting law. And then we get to confirm all the information. This
Can you
is,
stop right there, Steve, sorry. We'll have to change that date.
I'm sorry?
The issuance of the request for proposals won't be today, right? That'll be,
Correct. I'm gonna have to change that. I'm gonna have to change that to the 17th or something.
Yep,
are we issuing prior to the board approving?
we can.
Yeah, Mark, my understanding is the reason we created the IT working group in part was so that the port, with this composition with the port council and a board member, was so that we didn't have to wait for both the port council and or the board to move forward on approving the RFP.
Okay,
But the board, so I'm here to give the board's input. And then the board obviously will have final say as to whether or not the contract is awarded once the IT working group comes up with its recommendations.
okay, all right, just checking, so.
Yep,
And the other aspect is that obviously the board will be given copies of the RFP. And if they want any amendments to it, we can issue an addendum and change it.
yep,
The idea is to get it out there. I suspect we will get a lot of questions from prospective proponents, and that those questions will have to be answered, and those might also result in addenda to the RFP. And that's part of the process. So the rest, the proposal is pretty much the same. I just changed the estimated total contract price instead of just a total contract price. And then here, in order, this is to protect the consultant. If they give us an estimated total contract price and they clearly, it's based upon something that they could not have known about our IT infrastructure. And so all of a sudden they find that they're spending 300 hours instead of 150 hours. If there's a substantial change in the services provided, they get a change in price. And we will know how to negotiate that by looking at their cost estimates that they're required to keep for all this time as to what they assumed at the time, how much work it was going to take, and why it's now taking so much more time.
And Steve, will also be protected because they'll give us the billable rates going forward.
Correct.
Both parties will be protected, put it that way.
Yes, both parties will be protected. Okay. And this is language taken from the designer selection board process, the designer selection process. In that process for architects and engineers, the Commonwealth has a public policy that you don't even consider the price of the architect services. You want the best services possible. We aren't going that far with this RFP, but it's similar language to what is used in those contracts in order to get a truth in negotiations certificate from them. And Exhibit C is the evaluation criteria, and this is their background information. Hopefully everyone here gets a highly advantageous ranking. They haven't been bankrupt, and they don't have anyone employed who's a member, officer, employer, agent of the Steamship Authority. We have had some people who did not pass this A in the past. Their information, their experience is the second criterion. And if we have someone who who's worked with ferry operations or public transportation operators, they would get a highly advantageous. Probably not too many, but you never know. And otherwise it would be advantageous, not advantageous. And then the performance of the consulting services. to fix that typo, which I will do.
Hmm.
And then their contract. And this is whether it's reasonable. Once we had one of the management consulting firms back in 2018 gave us a proposed contract that said we could not tell anyone what their compensation was. And we found that to be an unacceptable proposed contract because we're a public agency and all of their financial information should be public. So sometimes firms do submit proposed contracts that are unacceptable, and we should know that before we evaluate them. Just because it's unacceptable in one of the evaluation criteria does not make us required to reject the entire proposal. It's simply a matter of what has to be negotiated, and we should know that in advance. And then I'm going to delete my former Exhibit D, which was the confidentiality agreement. I'm going to stop sharing unless someone would like me to
Okay.
contribute.
Does anyone on the working group have any comments or questions for Steve at this point?
Not on this document.
Yes, not currently, no.
Good, thank you.
Good job, Steve.
Okay, well, for everyone, mine was just a boilerplate. Everyone else did all the hard work. So my understanding is that James, Mark, and I, with Kurt's assistance, will revise the language and get this out. And we'll send it to everyone afterwards, but it'll be a public document at that point. It'll be issued as soon as we can. We do have questions about how we publicize this, and John had raised that with me. And Peggy Nickerson, who's unfortunately sick today, she had already started the process of trying to find out from other municipalities and public agencies in the Commonwealth what information they have. She has not been too successful in that regard, although she's tried. And I'll continue to work with Peggy. If anyone has any idea as to how we can publicize this and get this to prospective proponents, that would be welcome. And the important thing, though, is that all of our communications with prospective proponents should go through Peggy Nickerson. We should not be talking individually to people who might be submitting proposals, because then they're going to come back and say, well, blank told me this, and we have it in the RFP that all of the information is through Peggy and only in the form of addenda to the RFP.
Steve, does this require or should have a vote by the IT working group for approval to move forward on the RFP as we discussed, or is our discussion enough that we don't need a formal vote?
Well, if we were to issue it without the approval, we would only get in trouble with you. And if you're fine with that, that's better. But a vote would be helpful, and I would phrase it to authorize me to issue an RFP with the revisions discussed today as agreed upon, as drafted by Mark Roseman, James Ashley, and myself.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion from the working group?
So Steve, when we give you the information, James and I do we have to CC in the blind, or is it fine that if we're on the same email chain?
It's fine because you are not a quorum,
Okay,
but it's all going to be along the lines of what we discussed today.
okay, all right, just making sure.
We aren't going to do anything. We're going to describe the IT infrastructure as much as we can without jeopardizing security. We're going to include the accounting financial system, the learning management system, all those things, to make sure that it's a comprehensive analysis and not just one part, and then we find out later on we have to do more parts of the Steamship Authority.
Okay, is tomorrow good?
Tomorrow's
End of day
good for me.
No, get it back to you.
Yep.
Being realistic on the time frame.
Okay. Is that good for you, James?
Sure.
Okay,
All right, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? All right, well, I guess we'll take a roll call vote. James?
Yes.
John,
Cahill, aye.
Mark,
Rosamine.
and Jeffrey, I. Yes, John.
I have just one final comment or just a question maybe. The RFP goes out, we've got people responding to it, they're going to Peggy. And they're starting to ask questions. How do we channel those questions? Because Peggy might not know the answers.
well, often Peggy gives them to me and she and I discuss them. And if I can answer them, I do, and I just send them out. Or if I get Kurt's response or Bob's response, something along that line. If it doesn't involve anything that has to be reviewed by the IT working group, we can do that administratively and send out the responses. But if we have to have a discussion and any decision by the IT working group as to an answer to a question, we're going to have a public meeting and notice it with 48 hours notice. And so what we may do, if it comes down, we've asked for all the questions to be submitted by mid-March, I think, so that we have time to do that if that's necessary. But if there is a reason for the need to extend the time so that we can consider it, we can do that administratively and then come back for the substantive issues to the IT working group.
Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned about is making sure that the working group is well aware of the questions that are asked specifically about the objective section. I don't really care so much about the surrounding boilerplate, but they might have some concerns that I think the working group should have an opportunity to formulate an answer. The less obvious ones.
Correct. We could implement, if we were to, for example, if we got 5 questions and I submitted drafted 5 responses. Before sending it out, I could send it to the working group and simply say, this is going to go out. If any of you want to discuss it, we're going to have a meeting. I'm not asking for your opinion about them. I'm just saying, should we have a meeting about these? Otherwise, I'm administratively going to send it out, and we can do it that way. So of all the questions that are asked and all the answers that are given before they're given, so that you have an opportunity to say, no, we have to have a meeting about this.
That works for me.
Okay.
Mark? Yes?
No, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Right. I guess at this point, there can't be any old business because we've never met before. Is there any new business anyone has to discuss?
I
before we
open
open?
that.
All right. I guess we should open it up to, well, I know we have one public comment, Sean.
We did. So if anyone does, sorry, if anybody has public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon, and I do have one. Eric lit. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yes.
No, okay, great. So glad to see that the Steamship Authority is starting to address these process operational issues. As an island resident and also a consumer of the services of the Steamship Authority, I originally joined because I happened to see the notice for this meeting as an IT working group to ask a really simple question, which you guys have sort of talked a little bit around this morning. And my question was going to be, is it an IT issue or a business management issue that the website shows no available reservations and the boat is half full, inclusive of having accommodated all standby vehicles? Because it's just really, really frustrating, and I think you guys have probably heard that from multiple places. So we don't need to dwell on that, but that's the reason that I joined the call. Interesting to listen to your discussion about this potential RFP. Don't want to consume a lot of time, but just a little bit of my background. I've got 40 years of IT experience. I was the CIO at OnStar. I was the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer at GM for many years, and senior executive leadership positions at companies like Caterpillar and the like. So I come from an IT background. I am not a potential bidder. I don't think I'm a potential bidder.
If you know anyone,
You might be, and watch out.
I could be, but that's not the reason. Just because I listen to your thing, I have a few observations for your consideration that you might want to think about before issuing the RFP, or maybe some additions that you could make. Specifically, John, you had brought the point up about junior people getting put in place after the senior people come in and do the sales pitch.
Right.
Typically in an RFP, you would require named resources to be included. And so you would put that into the RFP such that when they respond, those are the named resources and they don't do a bait and switch on you. So just something that you might want to consider with respect to that. It's clear to me that the requested services, the scope of it is not clear. On the one hand, there's a lot of verbiage in there that references IT infrastructure, yet there also appears to be a significant desire to focus specifically on the reservation system deficiencies. So to get a good response, I would suggest you spend a little bit of time to really refine that scope. If you limit it to infrastructure scope, there are several areas that weren't mentioned that I would have expected to see mentioned. And again, I only saw this online, so I haven't done a thorough review or thought about it deeply. But things such as restore and backup are not included. That's a primary function of IT services. Identity and access management system, which has to do with certainly security features. How the storage subsystems, encryption, compliance to standards, things like ISO 27000, which would be cybersecurity standards, NIST framework, and things like that. So I'm not trying to be critical. I'm glad you guys are addressing this. But I think a little bit of refinement would get you better responses. Typically when reviews are done like this. And I will say that at one point in time, I was responsible for the technical audit process for $1 billion General Motors re-engineering engineering program. I was a lead person on that, so I have some familiarity with doing technical audits. The review would cover people, process, and technology. And so if you were to want that scope of service, then I think you need to be very specific about the scope. So you're not looking to review the captains on the ships from a people perspective. And if we're talking about processes, we can talk about business management processes or the technical operational processes, and they're very different. And so I would suggest that you, again, be very specific. And again, that's only to get a better response and to save people's time that are responding, as well as your time in review. The last thing that I would mention is, again, having gone through a whole bunch of RFPs and stuff in my life, usually when people respond to an RFP or they ask questions in the process, those questions are posted to everybody that is responding.
Correct.
To make sure that everybody has all the same answers. So whatever mechanism you use for that, just encourage that as well.
Yes, that is our standard process. That's why we answer all the questions in the form of addenda that are issued to the RFP, so that everyone gets them. And also, we did check the consulting proposal form does require the proponents to identify who's going to be working on the project and what their roles are going to be and what their level of effort are, along with the contract schedule. So hopefully they will not replace those people with junior people. That would be against their proposals. But Eric, if I could ask you a question about, you talked about if we were to, in the RP, talk about the IT infrastructure, that we may not be getting what we want. Would it be better to simply say IT systems instead of infrastructure? Is there, I'm a neophyte or even worse for this.
So
there-
systems typically include infrastructure as well as middleware and applications.
All right,
So it's more, systems is more inclusive than infrastructure.
all right, so I'm going to, unless anyone objects, I'm going to do a global replacement with that and put in systems instead of just infrastructure. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Litt, do you have any other?
I got
Comments
a
to make?
question for Mr.
Oh.
Eric, Mr. Lip.
I don't have any other questions, but certainly, John.
Eric, I don't know if we want to do this publicly, but I'd be happy to share my email address with you and we can talk offline.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a real vested interest in the Steamship Authority improving its processes as a consumer, right, and as a resident. So
Yeah.
anything I can do to help, I'm more than willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm the Port Council member for Tisbury. So my email address, personal email address is JF Cahill, which is spelled CAHILL @me.com. And let's pick up the conversation tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you guys' time and your efforts here.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Litt, for those very constructive, informative comments. And you're a brave man, John, for just giving out your email address on.
Eric is
Publicly,
more brave
in a
than I
public-
am that he's stepped up.
Do we have any further public comment?
Not that I see, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Is there a need for us to go into executive session? I know that I asked to reserve that, but does anyone see a need?
I do not. I think we have
Yeah.
sufficient
No,
guidance to issue the RFP.
All right, I would agree with that. So do we have are we ready to have a motion to adjourn? All right, anyone wants to make such a motion?
Oh, motion to adjourn.
second,
All right, moved and seconded. Roll call vote. James,
Aye.
John,
Before I say aye, I just want to say thank you, Steve, for all the work you did on this. It's great.
Okay.
Aye.
Mark,
aye.
and Jeffrey. Thank you as well, Steve, and I.
Thank you.
All right.
See you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.